Okay. I hit start recording. We're doing 482 corruption. Spellblade. It's an arena. We're gonna go get our shrines. Shrines. Oh, slow. We might die here. We'll see what happens. It depends on how many range. Uh-oh. I was like, it depends on how many ranged enemies show up to hit us with the slows, relative to our ability to hop on them and kill them. Today on stream, we've been talking about, well, actually mostly Grand Blue Fantasy was the main topic earlier, but for this game, it's about which enemies I've been finding most deadly on, like, the higher I've gone on corruption. And it's small ranged enemies that can stack themselves on top of each other, like archers and beetles. I find more frightening than all of the big stuff. More frightening than like these guys. Like the ogres can actually be kind of scary in sketch, but probably shouldn't have grabbed that right there, but whatever. Like, yeah, these sirens are annoying, but easy to deal with. Oh, that was quick. But yeah, we're doing it because that just added a... I'm doing this record because that just added on a damage layer. And you can see enemies have increased cooldown, they'll enrage at half health, and they have a slow. So we're going to go for another stack of their cooldown recovery, which should theoretically be manageable. But we are not going to do a Bone Dragon where both those are up. Because I know he can rotate... I'm assuming he'll be able to rotate his abilities super quickly, and we don't want to have that happen. So this is a record that's probably not going to include the boss fight. We're just going to do the 480 nodes here, and then I'll go over the build, and then we will probably continue on stream after this. But yeah, the entire point to me going for this sword node, by the way, and loading up a damage stack is so I can attempt at least to get an Eye of Reave that has LP. I think that's going to be my goal weapon. We have a pretty good crystal sword right now, but obviously... Bah. Blah, I say. Let's do one more. Yeah, we'll make enemies deadly, too. Why not? We're pushing ourselves here. So yeah, Eye of Reave I think is probably going to be my best in slot if I can get some LP on it. Because Katana's attack fast enough, and it has like all of the crit stack thingies on it. I think there's an Imperial Eye up there. A Mortal Eye. That was up there. Yeah, the slow can be a little questionable in terms of modifier choice, because it's like with this character especially, it's like both a DPS and a survivability hit, but it's also like enemies just don't hit harder with it. We are just slower, so it's like it's honestly not that bad. And haste shrines are pretty plentiful anyways, at least for me here. Well, not Plentiful is probably the wrong word. Common enough would be the phraseology. Probably there. In a skittering gate, the thing I worry about most is scorpions with this guy. This part especially. And we got it done. Armor and boots I'll take. We don't have room for it. Kind of at the end of a... We're not at the end of the stream, but we're kind of at like a... end of a rotation where we're picking up stuff. I won't subject the YouTube video to that. That's for streams and streams posted to YouTube only. Spell damage, attunement, necrotic res, overtime, crit avoidance, throwing damage. Okay, so let's go. End of time. And we'll go over the build. And then I'm going to keep streaming afterwards. So people watching the stream, when you hear me say goodbye, it's not goodbye for the stream. It's going to be goodbye for the end of this recording. All right. First thing, passives. So in our mage tree, we start with 5 points on Scholar for the health and mana. We then have Reactive Ward. This ability is kind of like the key to our defense right now. Reactive Ward will give us effectively our health as ward when we drop below 70%, plus an additional 60% ward. And it's every 6 seconds this can proc. So we will get a lot of ward just sitting here doing nothing. Now, the way we sit here and do nothing and still get this ward is through our shield. We are running the Bulwark of the Last Abyss. And you can see, watching my health globe and my ward gain, that we actually get quite a bit of ward off of doing this. And with this shield, we have the Apocalypse buff, which is whenever we're at high health, we lose 25% of our current health to gain the Apocalypse buff for 3 seconds. The Apocalypse buff gives 70% void damage while it's up, which is irrelevant for us, but also gives 70% melee crit strike multiplier while it's up, which is relevant for us. But the buff part of it, I don't actually care about. I care about the fact that this will automatically proc our reactive ward. So as we just sit here, as we fight, basically as we do everything, we will gain ward for free. And a lot of ward on top of like the Spellblade's natural ward gain and ward retention. And it is all thanks to being able to auto proc this. Now there is a way you could probably run Spellblade with a Frozen Heart, Twisted Heart, and the Twisted Heart would serve a similar role. But for now I'm going to run this shield, and I've been running this shield for like 2-3 weeks, and it's been great. It's been really nice pushing corruption with the Spellblade because of that setup. So further points in the mage section, we max out Mage Flurry for the attack speed and the cooldown for teleports, and the Knowledge of Destruction for the crit and crit multiplier, because this is actually a crit class too, so that's a really important node for the build. So Spellblade section, we have Elemental Affinity for the damage and resistance, Arcane Warden for the ward generation, Arcane Shielding for the Arcane Shield, which is effectively just 10% damage reduction all the time, and the ward per second while the shield's up. And then we have Fireblood for our sort of like spare point dump. It is 40 health and then the 4 damage, which is pretty nice. The way I would build this is I would grab up the Affinity, the Warden, and the Shielding, then tick 1 point in Fireblood to get to Essence Duel, and then fill out the rest of the class. Go back and put the points on Fireblood. So yeah, Essence Duel, increase attack speed, increase ward gain. That gets us over to Mana Reaver, which gives us some base health and chance to gain mana. Then we have Prismatic Blade for the dex and damages. Volka's Razor to just really jack up the damage of Flame Reave. I have Burden of Knowledge maxed out, very specifically for Flame Reave, because we have a node in there that converts the spell damage over to damage for Flame Reave, which is pretty cool. We have Mental Fortitude maxed out for the int and ward per second. Prodigy maxed out for the ward per second per int. And our int is 52. So not the highest you can get as a mage, but you know, it's what we can fit in to get this ward generation going. And then we have Blade Weaver at 6 because our fire branding is typically at 3 stacks or 6 stacks, so we don't need any superfluous stack building on here. Anything more I feel is kind of useless and pointless to put on Blade Weaver with the rotation like it's some big tricky thing you gotta do. You press Firebrand 3 times or 6 times, or hold the button down, and then you press Flame Reave, and that's your combo. I don't think there's anything else to explain here, right? Because we get the ward generation, we have our damage boosting, mana regain, health and damage. It's all pretty straightforward. Skills. I prefer teleport. So we run teleport. Oh, and you can run surge, and I'll do a version of surge after teleport. And if you go here for the 8 points on Outrun Outlast, you can shift points from Fireblood to Outrun Outlast. And Burden of Knowledge, you could probably move those points over to it too if you want to get the 8-point bonus on Outrun Outlast to get Surge's cooldown down. If you feel you need that. Sometimes you don't really need that. Anyways, teleport. I run it as a ward generator. So we have the ward gain from Ether Barrier, Out of Body, and Out of Mind. I also have it as an armor booster from Crystalline Passage. We get a little bit of extra damage from Elemental Affinity. And then I do Comet Rush to keep the cooldown as low as possible, because I teleport a lot. I almost do it on cooldown just to keep moving. Keep the ward generating. Keep the armor and cold res. And yeah, I really, really like teleport in this game, and I think it might be my favorite skill. So there are a couple other ways you could do it. If you have extra, like, more spell damage than what I'm running, which would require a weapon with it, you could probably get away with the Novas for damage. You could also, if you want, although I don't recommend it as much, go through the Mana Tunnel, Tunnel Finder, Rock Phase line to get the stun immunity. And you could also do, based on personal preference up here, Mirror Images. Teleport's a very open skill on this character, and there's a lot of personal preference on it. I mean, I also do recommend, like, the resistances and stun avoidance on Resonant Plasma. So yeah, bunch of nodes you can pick in here. I prefer Ward Generator and Armor Generator. So Flame Ward, standard setup to go up and get dual Aegis, max out Barrier, tick a point in Prismatic Buffer, max out Dilation, and then we're using a shield obviously. So I like to go Fire Aura, Frost Ward, Frost Guard, and then Glacial Reinforcement, because while our Flame Ward is up, our block chance goes from 52% to 62%. And we get a ton of block effect in this, and ward on block. So for the 4-ish seconds this is up, we get a pretty substantial defense boost out of one node. Dual Aegis, it just means we can keep it up almost all the time. And yeah, it's Flame Ward. It's a really great defensive ability, one of the best in the game. So for Enchant Weapon, I'm currently running it as just a damage booster. So we go for Clarity, Molten Steel, max out Concentration for the duration, Efficacy, mostly for the percent increased melee elemental damage, Kindling Blade, so we don't have to worry about casting it, and Desperation, and we can burn our mana down really low with Flame Reave, and let this take over for some bonus damage if we need it. It is 9 up, 3.6 down, which isn't terrible. I wish I could actually fit some more cooldown reduction in this build, but I can't. And if I could, I would put serious consideration, because we have Burden of Knowledge, I'd put serious consideration to getting Burst of Fire, so we can get the free fire bursts as we go. And in that case, I'd probably strip the Molten Steel and 2 points off efficacy, because I'd have to go 4 on the Immolating Strike, 5, 6. Maybe take the point off Desperation, so 7. Maybe we'd do that. Maybe. I don't know that it would actually be more damage, but relative to just getting more melee damage. But yeah, I would consider it with what we're running passive-wise. I even have a weapon that would actually support doing that more, that I would consider. So, our 2 main skills, Firebrand, Flame Reave. We have Pyro Shielding into Wildfire, into Incineration, into Illuminating Fire. This gives us our damage boost to Flame Reave. So like I said, we do 3 or 6 stacks of Firebrand, and then we hit Flame Reave go burr, kind of, and deals its damage. It goes burr enough for Flame Reave. And then beyond that, I would say Fulmination for the attack speed to keep those stacks building up quickly. And then Fading Flame, every time we use a stack, we get ward. Max out Pyro Shielding, so we get the ward on hit. So we get basically ward when we gain the stack, ward when we lose the stack. And then I have points on Insulation for the armor per stack. These 3 points are extra and can really go anywhere. If you want more stack control, Undying Fire. If you want more damage, Searing Brand. If you want more Ignite, Flare. Again, that's a personal preference thing. So yeah, pretty straightforward Firebrand. And it's a pretty straightforward Flame Reave, but I do have notes on it. So the order I go in is we go Dancing Flames to Rhythm of Fire to Versatility. Then do 3 on Arcane Severance, 3 on Ember Infusion, grab Flame Color. And Flame Color is kind of a, like, key node for the entire build, because you get the double hit off of your Flame Reave. And after you grab Flame Color, then I'd go up and grab a Celerando to reduce the stacks down. And this is where we get the 3 or 6, because it's 3 stacks from our Firebrand get us to our max stacks. And then the 6 is for Firebrand's 6 stacks that work with Wildfire. So big targets, build the 6, blast with Flame Reave. Smaller targets and, enemy groups, you could build up 3 and blast with 3. So we have +4 on our Flame Reave. Extra points go to... Oh, right. So, extra points, Max Arcane Severance, and Precise Destruction. And then... Okay, actually, I'm gonna say this different. Maybe Max Arcane Severance, and then maybe Max Precise Destruction. It is also a good idea to consider, before maxing these 2, to go for Rolling Flames, because this sort of gets your range back that you lose with Dancing Flames, which is really helpful for making this character work better. But if you have +4, you can actually go up and grab Ashen Waste, max out Rolling Flames, max out Precise Destruction, max out Arcane Severance. It all depends on how you're, folding that protein of your build together to make it fit. With the final points in here. If you don't feel you need the range, then you can go for more of the straight up damage. But if you feel you want more range, I would definitely consider Rolling Flames. It really is a comfort pick. It's quality of life to just have Flame Reave be big again. And it's not as big as it could be, but yeah, getting the Rhythm of Fire to be what it is and what it was when I was doing those nodes, yeah, Rolling Flames helps with that a lot. So, and Arcane Severance is the node that we pick up Burden of Knowledge for, because melee damage for spell damage, it's equal, so we'll get the 20 damage from that. And there is a weapon I have in my inventory that I could switch to, that I might want to switch to, that could be really good for that, and I'll show it maybe if I remember. Anyways, gearing. So I talked about the Bulwark already. So Bulwark burns our health down to give us a giant chunk of ward. The way that we kind of counteract that beyond our natural health regen is with a Siphon of Anguish. Siphon of Anguish gives you melee damage leached as health. We're all melee damage, so all of our attacks are really going to get that health back up, which our shield is just going to eat. And we kind of have this like regain, burn, regain, burn, regain, burn engine going with Siphon and the shield and Reactive Ward to like build ourselves this constant just ward machine with our gear, right? Beyond that, this actually has some pretty nice other lines on it. We got increased movement speed, chance to apply Doom, increased leech rate. But yeah, the increased movement speed is nice, obviously, for moving around. Doom applies a massive void damage over time effect, but also increases the melee damage a target takes by 4% for 4 seconds and can stack 4 times. So we have a ring that enables us to deal a bit more damage with our melee attacks. And this is why we run Shattered Chains, because Shattered Chains have the line 5% more melee damage per stack of Doom, which means we get an increase in our melee damage by a bit, and we have the leech, so these 3 items together kind of are a little trinity combo for boosting survivability and damage. Beld also comes with some armor, increased melee damage, and our potions cleanse, stuns, and freezes, and give us stun immunity when we use them, which is also pretty nice. I have an LP on here, too, that I have not filled in the entire time I've been running this, and I really need to actually take the time to fill that LP at some point. I just haven't gotten around to it. So yeah, these 3 together, we have the Apocalypse buff taking our health away, Siphon gaining us the health back, Siphon applying Doom, Shattered Chains boosting the Doom. So yeah, nice little trinity of items. I think, wasn't it Perry the Pig came up with this? And I'm kind of borrowing it because I wanted to try it out, and it turns out I really like it. An alternative I've been considering, and I don't know exactly how I'd get a rotation for it going, is actually to run a Twisted Heart. Because if we run a Twisted Heart, we free up our shield slot and our belt slot for other things. And I actually have an Iron Glass shield that has 17% block chance on it. So it'd be an equivalent exchange on the block chance. The issue is I don't know what I would use for the proc on this as a fire build. I think the only thing that comes to mind off the top of my head would be like a weird setup maybe with Fireball. Because there might be something there where if this Fireball that you can get while you Flame Reave, if that procs it, that might be interesting. But that's just speculation on my part with the setup. I don't actually think that is a thing I'm going to pursue for the time being. Maybe the patch on Thursday is going to make me change my mind. Because there is an idea I had to run Volcanic Orb because it costs 70 to proc the Sorcerer's Lost Knowledge ability. And Volcanic Orb is on a 2.5 second cooldown for us. So we could like rotate it in to proc the heart and proc Lost Knowledge. And because of the timing on it, like if we do 3 of them, it would give us Reactive Ward maybe. But yeah, it's like that's just speculation on my part for that. And like I said, there is maybe something for Fireball for this, but yeah, again, that's all idle speculation. I didn't go over Surge. I'll do that after the itemization, unless I forget again. So yeah, anyways, beyond the idle speculation there, this setup is really nice for building that ward. If you're leveling a Spellblade, you do not need to run this. This is only for pushing Corruption. For normal monoliths and empowered monoliths, you do not need to run this. You can just run whatever you want. You could do a wield a two-hander. You'll get through pretty much all of the monoliths completely safely without needing to resort to this to generate ward. Reactive ward would still be good to use, though, because you can just take a couple hits. You'll take a couple hits, period. Your health goes down, and you just get that ward for protection, right? You effectively have your health bar twice. Other notable gear is a Sun Wreath. I think Sun Wreath is probably necessary to run Flame Reave. It makes it a circle, which means you don't have to aim it, is the main draw for me. But, yeah. I don't know that it's 100% necessary. You could probably get away without it if you're using like a really, really good purple. But yeah, Sun Wreath is just really great. Quality of life thing. I highly recommend attack speed on your gloves. They can have whatever other stats are helpful to you, but attack speed on gloves I think is incredibly important. Because it builds your stacks up quicker. And the faster you build those stacks, the faster you do your Flame Reaves. The faster you do your Flame Reaves, the more damage you're dealing overall. So yes, I highly recommend health on gloves. Attack speed on gloves. I recently got health on gloves. That purple health line I just got today. But beyond that, I would say go crit chance and armor shred, because that'll help with your damage quite a bit too. The weapon, I have kind of a mythological weapon I'm chasing. It's like a weapon cryptid. That's actually, I have it right here, just not the one I want. Eye of Reen is probably best in slot if you get 2+ LP. Good luck. I have never seen it. I have one. I think I have one that has 1 LP. I might have actually gotten a 2 LP one, but yeah, anything higher I haven't seen. So beyond that, best in slot's probably a Crystal Sword. Second best in slot's a Crystal Sword. You can do a katana. I've ran this build with a katana. The optimal mix of things, in my opinion, would be a big purple line of flat fire damage, and then next to that would be crit multiplier in an optimal world, and an armor shred as the suffix. If you're running a katana, it would probably be the big flat melee fire damage next to attack speed. The reason the Crystal Sword's a little better than the katana is we get the increased elemental damage as a percent, the increased elemental melee attack speed, the flat damage, and then the crit multiplier, right? With the katana, you have to lose one of those in order to utilize it. So the Crystal Sword is 1 line better, is all. Katanas, though, work just as well, except for the 1 line. The 1 line. If you're rolling both as perfect, the Crystal Sword wins out. But if you're rolling both as, like, I'm a normal person with normal items, yeah, that works perfectly fine. Either way. For other gear, I managed a hybrid health on my boots. We got a relic that's purple. A pretty alright amulet. When this was a lightning build, that was the amulet I used, and I just haven't swapped to a new one yet, but I might be able to now, actually. Because I have one with fire pen on it. I'll have to go look. The helmet's just a helmet. I'd have to find something that rolls a little better for the stats. But I want to have like a purple line of int there. And as much health and resistances as I can stack. I think if I can't think of a skill I want to give pluses to outside of teleport. But that's not necessary. That's like personal. So yeah. Oh, and chest piece is where we get our +4 to Flame Reave. I don't think I'm ever going to switch this chest piece out. Because this plus one of our blessings is 100% crit avoidance. It would have to be like one of these with +4 to Flame Reave for me to want to swap, which is obviously, you know, rare. But yeah, that's a chest piece. I would say chest piece, if you don't go for the plus to Flame Reave, you definitely want to go for as much health as possible. Purple health would be really cool too. But yeah. big health on the chest piece is the way to go. And the implicit typing, I would probably say Mystic Plate for the crit avoidance, but there's a lot of variation in personal preference and go in there. Like, you could go Arcane Regalia for mana, or that orange one for mana spent gained as ward. My idols are kind of a mess right now, but they work because we got increased melee damage and then the armor mana. And then all of this is to fix some resistances, which are actually a little overcapped now. And then we have some percent health going on. But yeah, I wish I could do something like with a little more zazz for my idols, but most of what this character has been lately is just whatever works to survive. For blessings, we do crit multiplier from Riley, ward per second from Lagan, obviously crit strike avoidance from the dragon, and then percent armor, flat armor from fire and ice. Surge, by the way, the surge setup I would run would be, we're obviously a fire build, so we'd want to go up to flaming surge. I would not recommend pyroclasm, because this can screw with your mana, because it's going to add the mana cost of surge and flame reave together, which is, you know, potentially a problem when you've only got like 150 to 200 mana. But because you've gone through Storm Battery, I would probably say with this character's attack speed, 3 stacks of Storm Battery or 3 stacks of Dormant Energy that you get from Storm Battery is good enough. Because again, that's also 6, so it kind of lines up with your fire branding. And then max out your insulation, so when you consume the stacks of Dormant Energy, you get a chunk of ward. And then I would just do like shielding advance, so you're invulnerable while surging. Then ward if you hit at least one enemy, ward on hit with surge, and then distance. So yeah, go up, grab your conversion, insulation, shielding advance, and then hang out in the bottom here where the ward generators are and get some distance. Basically for surge, for me, I turn it into like fake teleport. Kind of like how I turn teleport into a little bit of a fake surge, just without the damage. Because I use them both as ward generators. Oh, one last thing. So in the mage, I have this sword right here, which is a very high spell damage sword, with a lot of armor shred. The reason I'm not running it is because it makes Firebrand hit like poo-poo. So I don't know if it's actually worth running over a melee damage sword. It would also only add about 7 base damage to Flame Reave, comparatively speaking. And yeah, because that's a tier 7 spell damage. This is just a very low tier 6 melee fire damage. And yeah, my only Eye of Reen I've ever seen that has LP was 1 LP. So yeah, I need to find Eye of Reens with LP is my goal, which is why I'm hanging out in Reign of Dragons. So yeah, that's gonna be the build. So thanks for watching, YouTubers. I'll see you guys next time, I guess.